Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Anson and Paul's Big Movie Podcast. I'm Anson Chan.
And I'm Paul Morgan.
And today we have a bit of a throwback, and we will be reviewing Lawrence of Arabia, or Lawrence of Arabia for you English speakers.
And Full Metal Jacket.
Yes, the Full Metal. So, Paul, why don't we start with Lawrence of Arabia?
All right. Lawrence of Arabia is the somewhat true story of T.E. Lawrence, who was alive during the First World War and fought in the, I guess you would say, the North African theater of the First World War for the British Army.
Something like that, like the North African or Middle Eastern theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was in Ottoman territory.
That's correct, yeah. So, I guess we start out, and he is getting some orders from folks. Or I guess we start out with his death. We go to his funeral. We hear that famous quote about him being one of the most something exhibitionists I ever knew.
He's also one of the most shameful exhibitionists since Barnum and Bailey.
That's right, yeah. That was a very, very famous quote. So I guess, I don't want to go through the whole plot because, like, so much stuff happens, but essentially he goes to Africa, finds a couple armies of a couple local leaders, leads them through a few different battles, losing friends and making enemies along the way, and kind of winning the hearts of these soldiers he's commanding. And then it deals mostly with his reputation among the locals and his kind of weird standing amongst the officers of the British Army throughout this whole thing. Big highlights are the battle where he does a surprise attack on Aqaba and takes that for the British Empire, and then attacking that, I believe it's Turkish train.
Yes.
With the soldiers, and then saving some people and becoming generally kind of like a legend within his the company he commands.
Right.
Is that pretty accurate for the most part?
Yeah, I looked it up. I guess you would call this the Mediterranean campaign, or the Mediterranean theater, because this is in like Lebanon, Syria, Saudi Arabia kind of area.
Gotcha.
And he was stationed in Cairo, Egypt originally.
See, okay, that's why I thought it was Africa, because he was in Cairo.
Yeah.
That was my bad.
So that is like, it's fine. So it's like the Middle East, Western Middle East, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, that's pretty good, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, so Anson, what worked for you in this movie?
Paul, I want to hear what worked for you first, actually, because this is your first time seeing Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, This is my first time. I had kind of wanted to watch it for a long time. In film school, we obviously watched that part where the one guy riding a camel in black approaches Lawrence and his friend and shoots his friend. That's a very famous shot.
The way that he appears over the horizon, he floats over the air by the way the heat reflects the actual image of the person above the desert, so it appears that he's floating.
Yeah. Exactly. That was very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, that shot was great. I liked the acting. I thought, what's his name? The main guy. Peter O'Toole. Mm-hmm. I thought Peter O'Toole did a pretty interesting job. I was pretty captivated by his character, and I feel like he played him subtly enough that you could see some of the flaws that historians sometimes talk about, like him being very vain and him being a little bit of an exhibitionist at times. And so I thought that was interesting. I thought Peter O'Toole did a great job of portraying that. I liked a lot of the battle scenes. They seemed very modern for how old they were. I really liked a lot of the landscaping shots, like the shots that show big, massive scapes of land with, these big, massive groups of people on them. I don't know that I necessarily thought every single one of those was like super aesthetically pleasing, but I thought that, like, I guess I respected the logistics that I think probably went into that. just because it's kind of a big undertaking, and I don't know, they didn't have a lot of the the supplemental technology we have to do stuff like that today. I also thought it's tough to say what I liked because I don't have a lot of I mostly just thought this movie was interesting. I didn't really it's so long that by the end you're not thinking about what you liked or didn't like. You're kind of thinking wow, that was a really heavy undertaking. So I mean, those are definitely some things I liked, but I'm not sure that I have a lot more. I know that sounds kind of like a cop-out, or I didn't really do enough research or something, but those are kind of the main things, I guess.
Okay.
What worked for you?
I think one of the most standout things about this movie is the musical score. I don't know who did it, but I know it's really famous. Yeah, I can't find it on IMDb easily, so we're gonna just know that the
Maurice
Jarre is an amazing man, then a very talented man, because the music lifts this movie so much.
It definitely does. It elevates a lot of moments that would otherwise be kind of boring.
It captures the whole deserty feel with those what I would assume would be Middle Eastern instruments, or I guess sounds, even compositionally.
Sure.
When I think of an Arabic kind of noise, or a deserty noise, I think of Lawrence of Arabia. When there are long shots on the desert, or moments of triumph or defeat, and the music will play, it really just heightens the emotional impact, and it keeps it interesting throughout. I always come back to the music, and I always really admire. It's one of the things that keeps me coming back to the movie, is just wanting to hear the music again. Interestingly,
and they have that main kind of that main theme that plays over and over again, that plays at so many of the crucial moments of this movie.
Love it so much.
I think maybe worth noting is that that's a very versatile theme, in that it works just as well for really sad, poignant moments as it does for moments of great triumph, or great beauty.
They slow it down and kind of select certain instruments instead of they'll isolate certain sounds, as opposed to in a bigger moment they'll have a fuller sound with more people playing in the background, versus when it's
kind of the best version of variations on a theme.
This is certainly one of those cases where you can hear the same song over and over and over again because of how differently they're able to arrange it and kind of play it back. So I really, really admire the music in this movie.
Definitely, I agree.
I also really enjoyed all the real shots in this movie where there's I think this actually takes place in the desert, with those huge open shots, and him riding his camel through the desert, and it just seems so overbearing. The rocks, even when he's he's close to the rocks, he just seems so daunting. The giant sand dunes, it's just so daunting. When they're filming in the I don't think it's real, but maybe in the sandstorm when they're going back to Cairo, and they lose Daoud, or
my gosh,
what's his name? Daoud, his one of his servant boys in the desert,
in the quicksand.
Oh man, the shots were just really impressive.
Yeah, the shot choice in this movie is
when
so
they're interviewing
impeccable.
Prince Faisal and with the American reporter, you can see all of the, I guess that would be Aqaba. I guess he's stationed in Aqaba in the background, just seeing the boats move and all the people move. It's not painted. It's because people are actually in the background. There's no green screen. That's a real life kind of environment, and you feel it, and it immerses you. You feel like you're there, which is so impressive to say. And you really get that old world feel to it too, with the stone buildings in which they're in, that desert architecture, the stark contrast between the white buildings and the sand and the blue, deep rich blue ocean. So many just visually beautiful shots that are just oh man, I can't imagine what it was like putting those shots together. But as well as the desert scenes too. Really an interesting movie, technically speaking. I love the way that it opens, where it starts out of order. It starts with the death, like you said, T.E. Lawrence, and they show all the people who like kind of like know him in the British side, or at least claim to know him on the British side or the Allied side, saying just a couple words or a couple sentences about him, and that kind of leaves you mystified and captivated, like what the hell, what's going on here? And then you see the actual movie, and it really comes full circle at the very end. Like you said, by the 3 hour, 30 fucking minute mark, it's just like, you're kind of like inoculated a bit.
Yeah.
So one thing that I also really enjoyed doing for this podcast, again, like I said, I like to come back to this movie frequently, but I think this was the first time after watching Full Metal Jacket and seeing the ending, I wanted to compare the ending of that to the ending of Lawrence of Arabia, because in both of those movies, they have a tonal shift, a very stark tonal shift at the halfway point.
Oh my gosh.
And so I went back to the halfway point of Lawrence of Arabia and only watched the last half, and was just amazed at how much I missed and how much that actually relates to the beginning of the movie. Because when I see it in a full sit down with, I guess, that intermission, you miss a lot. But when you just come back to it and focus only on the end of Lawrence of Arabia, like past the rape scene, basically. Spoiler, he gets raped. Oh man, it's its own very interesting movie. Mm-hmm. When you have the beginning and the ending half, like we'll separate it by the rape scene. There are two very different movies there happening. But when you only watch the second half, it's actually a very good movie on its own too, and it's long enough to really take the cake. So I really enjoyed seeing how the characters kind of come back around, or how, like, for instance, one of the things that I noticed in the ending of this movie, when Lawrence kind of is like beaten down by the breakdown of the Arab League or whatever he was trying to make, he takes his commission from the general to be a major, and he's able to retire and go home, and he just seems so beaten down. Not to mention all the interesting dialogue that Prince Faisal has with the general and whoever that politician guy was, the guy from Wales or whatever, or whoever he is, I don't know. Yeah. When Lawrence is riding back on the car, the soldier's like, "You're going home, sir." He's like, "What? You're going home?" And then he sees like a bunch of camels and like Arabs like walking or like riding by as the dude's honking at him. Getting away. He stands up to look to see if he recognizes them, right? But he doesn't. He hears the British guys go past singing their war songs in the truck. And then while he's kind of like glazed and looking out forward into the desert, that the sad theme plays with just the lone string, the bing, 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 bing. And then the motorcycle, which could have been his friend, what's his name? Was it Colonel Brighton? Or maybe it was... Oh, I forget his name.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. It's and okay. That could have been him riding out to go try to find him. Because at the very end of the movie, he ran out after to try to find Lawrence before he walked out, when he realized like how disgusting their, how terribly they kind of used Lawrence, how shifty the political deal was, and how he wanted to go run out and find Lawrence. I guess just out of respect, or for just for something we will never know, right? And that could have been, it's probably not, but he sees the motorcycle go past him while that thing is playing, and I was like, that's just like the beginning, when in the very beginning he's on the motorcycle and he fucking crashes and dies. So, and then but that is so subtly done. It doesn't zoom in on the motorcycle; it just lets it go past while the strings are playing, and then it cuts to the credits or the end, and then it kind of like bursts into the full sound because the credits are now rolling. Like, I was like, I didn't notice that all those other times I've watched this movie.
Yeah, and I didn't really make that connection until you mentioned it just now. So that's a very good.
That was such a nice reference into itself. Another, little rhyming visual, symbolism, I guess. So I loved that. I really, really appreciated a lot of the performances. I loved Aubutai, played by Anthony Quinn. I thought he was really, really captivating. I thought he was really funny. I thought his character was very interesting. I liked Prince Faisal. All the characters in this movie are very well defined.
I think Prince Faisal was one of my favorite characters. He was the guy with the mustache, right?
Prince Faisal was the one who originally was like talking to Lawrence in the camp, remember? And he's talking about like, like Alan, or I think not General Allenby, that colonel who I was just trying to remember the name of.
Oh, it was fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi in brownface. I really liked his character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was so interesting. What did you like about Obi-Wan Kenobi in brownface?
I didn't. I thought you were talking about someone else, actually.
Are you talking about Sharif Ali?
Trouble.
Who's like...
let me look it up real quick.
Sharif Ali was his friend who shot his other friend.
Guy. I fucking love Sharif Ali.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Sharif Ali was...
I like
was
that
good.
he constantly was challenging Lawrence and, like, prodding him to, change, and Lawrence, wouldn't, but they stayed, on good terms with one another. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought that actor just did, like, a much more subtle job. Like, even though I did also like Faisal's character,
mm-hmm.
I thought that Alec Guinness was he kind of went a little bit over the top in the accent a couple of times.
Are you talking about... You're talking about Faisal, the prince, the really subdued guy.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there were a couple times where the accent kind of slipped into something that I would be like, okay, you're pushing a little bit. But, only a couple of times. It wasn't like... Obviously, it's much better than when that happens in today's movies.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, you were saying about Faisal.
I thought he was just like a very interesting character.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
The way he was portrayed. He seemed like...
Especially when he's talking to that reporter.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that scene, dude.
He's like, you remark how many more dead than we have injured. It's like, yeah, 4 times more. It's like, that is because, we kill our own. We can't have prisoners.
Yeah.
We can't allow it.
Which, I mean, that is actually something that was very common in World War I across a lot of armies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there were, armies would kill their own soldiers for a number of reasons. So they would kill, obviously, German soldiers were ordered by, I think it was von Moltke, to kill soldiers that tried to leave the front of the line if they were scared or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then
the French did that,
I believe
too.
This was either the German or the French army. They did this thing called unit decimation, which is where the soldiers would draw straws, and it would be like 10 people to a group, they would group up, and soldiers would draw straws, and whoever drew the short straw of the 10 would get killed. And the generals often made the soldiers do the killing, which is just so fucked up, because it could be your best friend and you'd have to kill him.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, so I saw a Monty Python sketch about that, and I thought that was just a joke, because they have...
Yeah, apparently that was relatively common in World War I.
I didn't know that.
Damn.
Long story. But anyway, I didn't know that was a reference to something that had actually happened.
Yeah, so in World War I, France did it, Russia did it, and then it says it was done also by the Italian army in 1916, but I don't remember hearing a lot about the Italian army's involvement in World War I, so I'm not sure what the deal is there. But anyways,
that was one of their major issues with why they sided with Germany in World War II. Their contributions to World War I were very much overlooked after World War I, and they didn't really.
I was going to say, because I've read a little bit about World War I, and I have never heard much about the Italians' involvement.
Theirs is actually really interesting. They had Italian special forces called the Arditi. And they were expert mountaineers, because all their fighting took places in the mountains. And so their casualties were really interesting too, where most of their injuries had to deal with the eyes and the faces.
Oh, God.
Because so much shrapnel would come off with bullets ricocheting or hitting rock that would shoot people in the eyes or the face. Or when bombs exploded, it would blow up the rocks and just spray people. And so, yeah, their front was actually pretty interesting. But they also suffered from the same early war faults that the other ones did, where they're kind of fighting the old way. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Oh, we got to this by saying a quote by
the 4 times as much. The casualties, yeah. I love his kind of like his demeanor of untouchability, or just his regal presence. He added a very interesting touch. Auda Abutai being like the really boisterous barbarian, quote unquote, of the desert, which apparently was like a very inaccurate description of him. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff you learn about the history of that theater when researching this movie, and I think it's very much because of this movie that a lot of that stuff is easily accessible, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things that this movie shows, that I'm almost like proud to say that it was made in 1962, is that it kind of shows how like even members of like the relatively high-ranking officers in Britain had no idea how much the Arab world was going to be fucked over after the war.
Interesting.
Like, I would say that just because at the end of the movie, T.E. Lawrence gets promoted to colonel, I believe.
He's major by the very end when he goes home.
Okay, wait one sec. Yeah, it says at the end of the plot for Wikipedia, Lawrence is promoted to colonel and immediately ordered back to England.
Okay.
So like, and he was ascending the ranks like throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. So like, and even he was saying to people like, yo, we have no designs on your land. We're not going to bother you if you help us out. You know, he even lets that one Arab leader like totally just leave after his army has gotten what it wanted, which was the victory at Aqaba, or the victory at Aqaba and the train robbery of all those horses. And so like, he's promising all these people, you know, like, no, we're not going to fuck with you guys. And then, you know, as we know, the modern Middle East was essentially created by the treaties at the end of World War I.
Yes. So
it's kind of like it kind of, I guess, I like that it shows that there were people with good intentions, but ultimately, like, the politics is what ended up running the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's another point of contention, actually, where they say Lawrence knew of the Sykes-Picot Agreement before engaging, you know, like in this theater. So he did know that it was going to get carved up. And so for them to try to like play him out to be the duped do-gooder was a little bit of a stretch.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I did not know that. I thought that he was totally unawares. But I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah. So
I mean, I
think he still did want to push for the Arab League, or the Arab countries run by the Arabs, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much is truth. I would like to do my own research into, like, maybe audiobook the Lawrence's autobiography.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because that could be an interesting read. I know it's going to be heavily edited to, you know, basically make himself sound really great or whatever he was doing. You know, it's going to be a little bit propagandic, but I'd still be interested to hear it from the source. You know?
Oh, definitely.
Because you don't know what at this point is revisionist or what actually happened, because so much of it is hearsay.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the few benefits of it being like 100 years ago, is that at this point we probably have historians who have researched a variety of different perspectives on the matter, but also, you know that the straight from the source is going to be very self-serving.
I also, in the process of researching, like I said, the characters for just my own curiosity and this podcast, Faisal, his death was super suspicious. Like, the British put him in charge of Iraq because the British controlled Iraq, and he always wanted to like rejoin with Syria because that's kind of like his like hometown where he was from, and
sure.
His religious majority there, which was, you know, his religious affiliation too, was the minority in Iraq. But the Syrians looked down on the Iraqis. I'm sure that they did
kind of a gerrymandering thing there.
Oh, totally.
With the borders.
Yeah. So he always wanted to rejoin with his Syrian guys, but the French took over Syria and kicked them out.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so when he died in at a routine checkup in Europe, the nurse reported that he had signs of arsenic poisoning, but then they just totally just embalmed him super quick and like cremated him or something, so they couldn't like do a proper autopsy on him. And it was like, yeah, he was probably getting. They needed somebody else, or someone was like, let's get this fucking guy out of here. So
they used the early 1900s version of James Bond to take him out.
Arsenic poisoning?
No, James Bond is the one who did it, though.
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
Because he's existed since forever.
That's right. I remember hearing about this. He was also the one who assassinated Napoleon.
Yep.
At the Battle of Waterloo.
Just every new agent that joins that position is a James Bond, and they keep just letting him die, and then they name the next one the same thing.
Yeah, I think 007 killed Alexander Hamilton.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
As revealed in the hit 2016 musical Hamilton.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually 007. There's a very interesting song about it.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah.
Great raps.
Yeah. But anyway,
I think we've done enough on Faisal, so what else did you like?
The character progression of Lawrence was just very, very outstanding. I really liked.
I think that's a credit to the writing.
Yeah.
I feel like it was very well written.
I also appreciate the. They could never get away with making this movie today because of how it portrays the Muslim people or Arab people. Like, it's pretty unapologetic. It's almost like in the Wild West movies, there's a lot of issue now.
The way they talk about Indians.
Or the way they even portray them, right?
Yeah.
Because
I remember there's that one quote where Lawrence, who's like the hero, says, like, Arabs are, like, as long as the Arabs fight
amongst
tribes,
each other, tribe to
they
tribe.
will be a little people, a silly people.
Yeah.
Greedy, barbarous, and cruel as you are.
Yeah. Exactly,
Oh,
exactly.
Dude, that's just so brutal.
But that is brutal, but I love the place it takes in the context of the movie, and even as a moral, right?
Yeah.
Because, it does make Arab people, especially of that time, look really shitty. And it does really portray... This whole movie is just like about British superiority or European superiority, kind of, in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in a big way. But, like,
Very
it feels...
glorious in that sense.
It's more subtle because it's not like... Look how much... Like, it's not like the forefront of the movie. But it is definitely a through line, like, throughout the entire movie that, like... Yeah, the British are just way more civilized and organized than these, like, savages... quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I like how they're able to play with that though, and have that in the movie, I suppose, because you can't get away with it today. It makes the movie more endearing, and it makes it even more interesting to think that like it is not that far off history, and yet at the same time it still feels almost like fantastical or fictional. Yet at the same time, a lot of this stuff did actually happen. Yeah. It gives it an air of like mystery, or not mystery,
intrigue,
a fairy tale kind of feel. Like it's just so good. I really like that. Yeah, and again, like Lawrence is he felt like such a good character for the first half of the movie, as like he is such an open character to the Arabic customs and culture, as opposed to like the rest of the British who have like their superiority complex.
They won't even let Lawrence's assistant into their fucking barracks when he's walking with Lawrence.
Yeah, and they're just like super discriminatory.
Yeah.
I thought
they keep calling him names and shit.
They keep calling him a wog.
Like
yeah.
Wog or like Ali.
Yeah. Like, hey Mustafa, you can't come in here.
Yeah, Mustafa, that's another one.
Yeah. Yeah. But oh man, it's so interesting, man. I just it makes me smile thinking about it, because it's almost like I'm sure it's offensive.
I mean, at this point, probably.
I don't know. I'm not a part of it. Like, we're gonna talk about Full Metal Jacket later, which also has like some interesting slang. Because I was like, this is some interesting army slang. You know what I mean, for these type of people, Wog, Mustafa, Ali, or whoever whatever they call them. And I thought that was just like an interesting little touch of realism. But yeah, those are the things I really, really liked that really stood out to me. As well as, like, just like I said, all the fucking soldiers you see are real people. Holy fucking shit, they got a lot of people. All the places that you see the shots taken are real fucking shots. Holy fucking shit. The music is outstanding. I think it's just like a superb movie in my opinion. I just really like it. Paul, was there anything that didn't work for you?
I mean, there are a couple things I want to just briefly mention. There's not a lot that didn't work for me. But two things I want to just briefly mention are, one, I mean, I know Alec Guinness is an amazing actor, and he did play this part very well, I thought. But you don't need, I mean, and I know it was a different time in the 60s, but fucking cast brown people to play brown people. Cast Asian people to play Asian people. I mean,
I understand.
I understand that it's acting and actors should be allowed to do whatever they want, but at this point, it's a little bit passé. It doesn't personally offend me. It's just, come on. How hard is it to find someone in a different culture that can act?
I bet it would be pretty hard, especially at that time. Do you recall seeing the movie Gran Torino?
Yeah.
I found the acting in that outrageously bad. It was just so bad.
Well, the kids were horrible, yeah.
Yeah, like the Hmong actors were
so
Hmong
bad.
Kids,
yeah.
Like, oh my god.
They were some of the worst actors I've ever seen.
Yeah. And like it was lauded for like Asian actors and how great they did. I'm like, dude, that's so embarrassing. Yeah. Like
very bad acting in that.
If that's the fucking pedestal, man, then like that is just, everyone's going to kind of like know inside that it was terrible, right?
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
promote it.
I think finding one example of that not going well is not an excuse for not doing it. No, I
understand.
But yeah, that's a very small thing. Though, I don't actually care that much. I could give a shit if a black person plays a white person, if a white person plays a black person. I do not give a shit. But I think at this point, it's like, if that was remade today and that happened, there would be such an uproar. It's just, I don't know.
Lawrence of Arabia?
No, if a movie was made about another culture and a whitey put on, some
Asian
makeup
face.
and shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
That wouldn't go well. Anyways, the other thing is, it's hard to describe this because I don't necessarily know all the terminology that I want to use with regard to it. But there's these series of shots in the desert, especially during the first half of the movie, where it looked like what they did was they shot during the daytime and then severely darkened it to try and make it look like it was dusk or nighttime.
I noticed that too.
Those looked really bad, especially as someone who I feel like has a good handle on what decent cinematography is.
Yeah.
I really took issue with those. But other than those two quick things, obviously, first one doesn't actually bother me. I just didn't like it. The other people who played, Arab leaders were at least passable, Persian looking, I guess. And then, just those shots, they felt so awkward because I felt like without explaining to us what time of day this is or what's going on here, what's the purpose of having this weird discolored shot? You guys had a massive budget. You obviously had lights that worked well at night. Could you not shoot this at dusk, or what was the deal here? So, I don't know. Just those two things, really.
Yeah.
Was there anything that didn't work for you in this movie?
Yeah, I will agree with you with the really awkward lighting in the desert scene. The one that stood out for me in that respect was when they raided the Turkish convoy after they completely decimate one village with killing all the women and children, and then they have Lawrence scream, "No prisoners!" and they just kill all the Turkish soldiers, and they show they left the sheep alive with dead bodies next to just baying sheep, man, and bodies all over the place. But that's when they had that weird lighting thing, and I was like, what the fuck was that about? And
I don't know what that was supposed to be because of.
because the sky even looked fucked up because you could tell they darkened
it's like a really dark light blue.
Yeah,
or like a really kind of shadowy light blue.
Yeah, and so you know that it's just like that doesn't look right. It's not.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like the sun was behind them when they were filming, so that their faces were dark. Something was not right about that scene, and I couldn't place it until you just said that. Where like they darkened
it just
the
felt
scene.
So weird.
Yeah, so that scene really stood out for me as like a bit of a moment. I didn't like the scene where Lawrence has the whole fucking getting raped and like the lead up to him getting raped in the village where he's like, they'll never see me. Yeah, like that felt really out of place, and that also marked the moment of the movie changing tone. And I feel like the way that was handled was poor. I feel like that whole series of events didn't gel with the movie or even with itself. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, that part in the movie feels like it should have been left on the cutting room floor, as well as it was kind of a blatant feeling attempt to make the Turkish or Arab people look even more quote-unquote savage by having like a gay dude rape the white guy, right?
Yeah.
A gay Arab raped a white guy. And I was like, what the fuck? So I was not a fan of that scene.
Super out of place.
Yeah, it was just... apparently they put it in there because in Lawrence's memoir, he says that happened. He says he got raped.
Jesus Christ.
And then a whole bunch of historians have like tried to comb through that or find evidence of that happening. It's like, nah, we can't find anything to substantiate this. But why would you have that in your memoir otherwise? Yeah. Why would you want to look emasculated or to show that you know, someone fucking raped you? Like, that doesn't sound like something you would voluntarily put in your book. Unless
you like really were looking for sympathy.
Right.
The guy at the beginning, and that is supposedly is a historical quote, said he is one of the most, shameless exhibitionists. So maybe he like wanted people to know. So who knows? I mean,
it could be.
We don't need to get into why he would have put that in, but it was a very interesting choice.
Cinematically speaking, I don't think it was needed, and I would have much rather preferred it to not be in the movie. It could have cut out 20 minutes easily, and they could have had a much better scene in place of that. Because
or no scene at all, and that still would have been a full movie.
I think so. After he loses his compass in the desert when Daoud gets killed in the quicksand, that already is a tonal shift, because that's when everything kind of changes for him. He loses his quote-unquote direction, right?
Yeah.
And that's when he kind of gets egotistical and in over his head when he lost his compass, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that would have been fine. I really didn't like the rape scene.
Yeah.
I think those are the only two real standout things I didn't like about the movie. I liked everything else, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess having said that, then, would you recommend this movie?
Absolutely. However, if you're not into the older style movies, if you're not into the length of this movie, which is 3.5 hours, you might want to like keep this on like your back burner list of I might watch this one day, because it's a pretty long ride. It's a pretty you got to be in the mood for it, I think. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but yes, I would absolutely recommend Lawrence of Arabia. And what about you, Paul? Would you recommend Lawrence of Arabia?
Yeah, I probably would as well. I'd probably say pretty similar things about it that you said.
Okay. Well, shall we move on to Full Metal Jacket?
All right. So, Full Metal Jacket. Anson, do you want to give us a summary of Full Metal Jacket?
Absolutely. Full Metal Jacket is the 1987 film directed by the one and only Stanley Kubrick, written by Gustav Hasford, and made to the screenplay by Stanley Kubrick. It stars Arlie Ermy and a whole bunch of other people. But basically,
Pretty much just R. Lee Ermey and then a little bit of Matthew Modine and Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah. So the movie follows, I guess it follows basically one or two specific Marines, but it begins with them and their company in training, or them and their, like, I don't know what you call that, like, class, platoon.
I guess it would technically be a company, or it's not really a company because it's just training, and they all get moved to different companies.
Right. I don't know.
So
what
I
you
guess
call
it's just
that.
like the training class or whatever, like basic training set.
Yeah. So we'll just go with the very technical term of training class. So it follows the beginning follows the training class of the Marines as they go through kind of like the Marine training to enter the Vietnam War, where historically speaking, in the beginning of the Vietnam War, only the Marines were sent in to just kind of like keep the peace and keep the South in place. Because, I don't know, maybe they underestimated the Northern or the communist reach or communist sympathy, quote unquote. Anyway, so this is at the time when they only were sending Marines in. And R. Lee Ermey is telling them that, like, we're gonna go in. You're gonna go to Vietnam. You're gonna just, kick their asses, be home by Christmas, kind of thing.
As numerous generals have said, throughout the history of warfare, the best way to win a war is to make it quick.
Yeah, and as we all know, this was doomed to failure. So it shows these classmates of Marines as they go through training being abused to hell by R. Lee Ermey, doing the different training regimens of, day in the life of Marine, make your bed, clean the floor, shoot the guns, climb the giant log things, a lot of marching, a lot of all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically the first half of the movie. Second half of the movie...
It's a full 45 minutes of that, which is insane to think about.
That could have been the entire movie, in my opinion.
I agree, but anyways, go on.
The second half follows Private J.T. Joker and his friend Raptor Man.
Raptor Man.
Yeah, as they are war journalists, or Vietnam War, kind of like Marine newspaper propaganda journalists. And kind of follows them as they go about Vietnam, then kind of engage in combat in Vietnam, and see for themselves the horrors of war. So that's it. That's the synopsis.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
No, I think you got just about everything. I would say, though, that a big main point of focus in the first half is Leonard Lawrence, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, also known as Private Pile.
Old Pile.
It's also about how training can break some people, which I think is
I don't think it was necessarily the training can break people. It is just the life of a soldier can kill somebody. Because they had that very opening statement, or that very, very, very blatant statement by R. Lee Ermey, like, Lee Harvey Oswald, who did he kill? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
The guy who shot John F. Kennedy, or the Texas guy who took the tower, he killed them from 400 yards, 10 people, with one like really old gun. Right? It's like that is what a determined Marine can do if he sets his mind to it. Right? So it's kind of showing the glorified killing of. Or the glorified nature of killing for a Marine or a soldier. And at the same time, how that mentality can break a man, or just the things that they see can break a man. But
definitely.
That's what I would say. Not necessarily the training, but just the life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we spoil why we're saying that?
We can talk about it in a bit. I want to I want to hear what worked for you first, though.
Sure. I loved R. Lee Ermey's performance in this. He made the entire movie for me.
Dude.
I'd never seen this movie before, so it was just... I've seen R. Lee Ermey a lot in the History Channel. That's like the only thing I know him from. Oh, yeah,
that's how I knew him, from like Mail Call and stuff like that.
Yeah, Mail Call, dude. Mail Call's great. Old Gunny.
Yep.
But anyway.
I wanted to really quickly recount the story for of Arlie Ermey's casting, because I always love reading about this when I'm revisit the Wikipedia page for this movie.
Yeah.
So former U.S. Marine drill instructor Arlie Ermey, originally hired as a technical advisor, asked Stanley Kubrick if he could audition for the role of Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. Kubrick had seen Ermey's portrayal of a drill instructor in another movie and told him that he was not vicious enough to play the character. Ermey then improvised insulting dialogue against a group of Royal Marines who were being considered for the part of background characters in order to demonstrate his ability to play the character, as well as to show how a drill instructor goes about breaking down the individuality of new recruits. Upon viewing the videotape of these sessions, Kubrick gave Ermey the role, realizing he was a genius for this part. Kubrick also incorporated the 250-page transcript of Ermey's rants into the script. Ermey's experience as a drill instructor during the Vietnam era proved invaluable. Kubrick estimated that Ermey wrote 50% of his own dialogue, especially all of the insults.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Pretty fun little story. But anyways, so you liked Arlie Ermey, as I think a lot of people who watch this movie do. He's terrifying. He's funny. Like, he actually makes me laugh out loud a lot of times.
Yeah.
He's also terrifying, though. He also does an amazing job of reinforcing, but in a totally believable way. Like, listen, at this point, you're the government's property. Yep. Your job is to fight, and your job is to die. Yep. You don't get to die till I say you're allowed to die.
Yeah.
You know, like, that... I've been re-listening to this long podcast that is very popular about the World War I era. And one of the things that they talk about in that podcast is how, like, back in like the early 1900s, they were just exiting an era of war where, like, dying for your country was considered like this glorious, dutiful thing to do. And how once they started being barraged with artillery fire and machine guns, and they weren't wearing helmets, and there's, you know, body parts of their friends lying all around them, stacked, 5 feet high, that they have to start incorporating rhetoric like this into training in order to get people to be okay with it. And how, like, a lot of war is just like a huge meat grinder that you just need to throw bodies at. And I think his rhetoric in that vein was very, very interesting.
I think also because the Vietnam War, and I guess the Korean War too, the Forgotten War, was not about America defending America. It was about...
Yeah.
That sense of nationalism couldn't exist because they were fighting for other countries and dying for other countries en masse. Like,
yeah,
what
they're fighting
are we doing
because
this for?
2 small communist powers invaded 2 small non-communist powers. Yeah. And, they don't want to engage directly with the Russians.
Yeah.
So you go for all of the little proxy wars that, happen.
Yep. Yeah. So, because the birth of the nationalist military mindset is very powerful if it is your country fighting for your country versus someone else. Like, I was watching like a video on YouTube about the Meiji era, or like, post-shogunal Japan, the Meiji era, the revival of like the emperor kind of Japan happened. And what they did was do away with the samurai class, who basically helped get the emperor into power, and create conscription out of sheer national identity. Move away from clan focus or regional focus and focus on national identity and pride, which really helped their war fervor move along, I suppose. Right?
Certainly.
Yeah, and that also helped crush the rest of the rebel samurai who are like, hey, you stripped our rights. We were like top class. What the fuck? Rebel. And then the conscripts are like, nope. because you know they had modern military weapons. Even though the samurai who were the warrior classes are no longer warriors, just couldn't fight a conscript army that was trained in modern warfare. So it's very interesting. But but so that's interesting that you bring that up with the rhetoric that they would need in that case of the Marines.
Yeah, I just think it's so fascinating. Like, you tell these guys while they're not even in any danger of dying, like, listen, it's your job to die.
Yeah.
Like, that's so insane. That's so heavy.
Yep. Say goodbye to Susie Rotten Crotch or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so there's those things. What else did work for you in this movie?
Just the first 40 minutes, really. I liked the whole training montage. It felt very good. I liked it was just so interesting to watch. I was just very enthralled watching it.
Yeah. I know this is stupid and also douchey, but I've actually started doing the little 1, 2, 3, 4, I love the Marine Corps whenever I do my push-ups. Because having something to say while you're doing it makes it seem so much less stressful on your body. Yeah. I don't know why, but it helps so much.
Interesting. It maybe distracts from your the pain and the breathing. You have to focus on your breathing.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Marine Paul. That's cool. I guess in the second half, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. I think I liked the use of real helicopters, I guess. That was kind of cool seeing them come in and out and like land, and the choreography that is involved with like the soldiers running around in the background while the camera pans and follows like these two dudes. But as it goes down to like the actual when they're fighting and stuff and those big stupid cartoon characters and the really ham-fisted message, I'm just like, oh fuck. Not a huge fan of any of that crap. So that's about it. Okay. Paul, what did you like about Full Metal Jacket?
So I am with you. I definitely prefer the first 45 minutes over the second half. So I'll kind of break what I liked into the first half and the second half. So in the first half, I think one of the things I liked is, so we get introduced to Matthew Modine's character, Private Joker, pretty early on. He's got like one of the first few lines of dialogue in the movie. And he is immediately pegged as like a rationalist or someone who's like good at adapting to whatever scenario he's in. And I liked that he was smart enough that he got promoted to like the squad leader or class leader or whatever, just because like, I don't really know how to describe it. It seems like it made me root for him a lot. And then it gave me sympathy for him when he had to take care of Private Pyle. And then afterwards, when anything bad happened to him, I sympathize with him a lot. So there's that. And then there is Private Pyle. I really love the Private Pyle storyline because, I don't know, I feel like they just kind of broke him. And it was like, he's just not smart enough to do anything on his own. He can't figure out how to get his shit together. And people are really trying to come in on his side. But they're doing such a shitty job. Or if they're not doing a shitty job, then all of the help they're doing is totally in vain. And they're all starting to realize that. And it culminates in this huge explosion of like emotion when they're beating him while he's tied to the bed. And you see Matthew Modine sitting there. He's waiting to do it. He can't do it. But then once he starts, it's like, fucking yes, I get to finally do this. And he doesn't stop. He does it like 4 times more than anyone else does. I love that kind of like little arc they had there because...
Well, he does it first reluctantly. And then when he's doing it, he just goes, fuck it. And then just hits him like way more times than he should have.
Yeah, right? And it's like
he
you can tell he's like kind of breaking himself because he has to take care of this person who is utterly helpless.
And then at the same time, he has to abide by the squad, and I can't just be that fucking guy. He's like, and then he, like I said, he broke himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's those things. I like the brutality of the training. I love Arlie Ermey's rhetoric. I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm kind of a morbid person, but I thought the headshot of Vincent D'Onofrio killing himself was one of the best looking suicides I've ever seen on screen.
That gave me chills.
Oh my God, it was so incredibly gorgeous and
I went,
haunting.
Like when that actually happened.
The way the way his body just goes limp and the blood spatter and the head snapping to the side.
The brain goo.
Oh man, it
looked very real.
Oh my God, yeah, it was so well done.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. Second half, like you, I didn't necessarily need the cartoonish Asian characters or the like cartoonishly white supremacist guy played by one of the Baldwin brothers, I believe.
Adam Baldwin.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of, that his character was a little bit over the top for me. But what I did like in the second half was some of the rhetoric that took place. Maybe not the rhetoric, because I keep misusing that word, but some of just the dialogue was really effective for me. Like when Matthew Modine is standing in front of all those dead bodies covered in lime, and he just took a bunch of pictures and stuff. And that colonel or that general, I believe it was a colonel, comes up to him and says,
"What is on your chest, private?" or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, "What is on your chest?" And he goes, "It says born to kill on your helmet, and you got a peace sign on your chest. What is going on here?" And he goes, "I think I was trying to make a reference to the duality of man, sir." And he goes, "The what?" "The duality of man, the Jungian thing, sir." And you can tell the guy does not even come close to comprehending what he's talking about. But I think, that is something that's an important facet of this movie, is like, there is this side of us, this animalistic, violent nature side that you have to be able to harness to go into war. And, I don't know, a lot of people I've talked to who have friends who have PTSD say that a lot of those people, a lot of their PTSD is based around them blaming themselves for doing something that they're like not morally okay with. And I think part of the kind of duality of man thing that they're talking about here that's important is like, you have to realize that you're not killing just anyone. You're killing someone that your government says is an enemy. And you're killing them because you have orders to kill them. And you can't go like blaming yourself for that. You have to just understand that that's part of human nature, is to do that.
Well, you
and
can
also to follow orders to do that.
You can, like when you said the guy brings up the Jungian thing or the duality of man, where in one case, if you kill a member of your own community, it's highly frowned upon. But when you kill another in another community, it is not frowned upon, or in fact, it might be
celebrated.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So I thought that part was interesting.
You didn't find that ham-fisted, or just kind of like blatantly
well, it's
inserted
not ham-fisted because they mention it once and then it's over. The rest of it is just showing you that.
Yeah,
it's
but
not
it stands out,
it.
though. It fucking stands out hugely. It's like, wow. They could not have been any less subtle about this.
Well, I think it's very subtle because
the
only mention you see of it is this guy very briefly saying a couple of the key words in that to someone who doesn't understand, and then never getting a chance to explain himself. That to me is very subtle because they mention it really quickly, and then the rest of it is just showing you how that manifests in like all these extremely violent people with no remorse for their violent actions. And then on the other side, people who do like even the slightest violent thing and it haunts them, really deeply. I think because they showed it and only briefly mentioned it, it's a lot more subtle than you're maybe giving them credit for.
I disagree, but go on. What else did you like?
There's the one of my favorite parts is the part where like all of the soldiers are talking to the cameras and they're like clearly misunderstanding what's going on in the war, and they keep saying, I don't get it. We're trying to help these people and they all want to kill us. And that, that reminded me a lot of the Iraq War. It's like, well, you're not actually trying to help these people. You might have been convinced by some briefing documents that you're trying to help these people, but you're really not. You're kind of hurting. I liked how that misunderstanding was very like heavily explored. And then I guess a last thing that encompasses both halves of the movie, I really enjoyed the music. And it's kind of for the opposite reason of why I hated the music in Suicide Squad. And it's because every song in this movie was a song that was popular around the time of the Vietnam War. And yet, because of the tone that was set in the first half of the movie, all of the really joyful music or the kind of fun music has this kind of
irony.
Yeah, it has this kind of contrasty, ironic subtext to it that's very It's like a very famous, like Stanley Kubrick device, like using really pleasant jazz music in The Shining, or the singing in the rain motif in A Clockwork Orange. Which, I mean, anyone who's seen A Clockwork Orange, singing in the rain probably still haunts them to this day. Honestly,
that's a pretty
So I just love how, you have all these guys like doing these live fire exercises and shooting into buildings and killing people. And you have the, everybody's heard about the bird. I just think that kind of stuff is really fun. And Stanley Kubrick always does that in his movies. And it's one of the traits about him that I really like a lot. So yeah, those are the kind of the things I feel like, I want to get into what you didn't like about the theory I brought up, the Jungian thing. But what did not work for you just in general in this movie?
I think Gomer Pyle, or Private Pyle, his acting was just so fucking over the top. I did not care for it.
Really? No way.
Yeah, Private Pyle, because he's like, he talks like big dumb simpleton. And it's like, okay. I thought that was kind of like overly cartoony. And then in the second half,
you've never met a person that talks like that?
Only in like video games, or like in just to make fun of that type of like the classic dummy who talk like this, the very dumb guy. Like, no, I've never met anyone that talks like that.
No way, dude.
No.
I can't believe that.
Really?
Yeah,
he talks like
love this performance because it seems so real, like this dumb, down-home country boy who is too stupid to know how badly he's doing. I thought that was incredibly well done, man.
Wow,
I don't
really?
know.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Wow. Yeah.
He seems so helpless. Like, look at his face when he talks. He's like a baby.
That's it. He's a big cartoon character, though.
Oh, man, I love that.
Interesting.
All right.
Okay.
You didn't like Private Pyle.
So, what separates Private Pyle, then, from the other cartoony Marines in the second half? Of, for instance, Animal Mother, played by Adam Baldwin.
Well, first off, Adam Baldwin is a one-note actor. He is always this same blank stare, meathead, jock, I'm an asshole guy. The dialogue for Animal Mother was a lot clunkier than Private Pyle's dialogue in terms of fitting with his character type. Like, they force a lot of really racist shit into his dialogue, whereas he seems to, get along with the people he's talking shit about when he's not saying racist shit about them. Like, he gets along with his black unit commander, wherein, he beats him to the punch getting the prostitute, and he said the all N-words must hang, and that just, like, it seemed stupid and bullshitty to me. So I don't know, Private Pyle seems very believable. He seems like this just dumb guy. I don't know.
I couldn't tell if you were complimenting the performance of Baldwin or if you were...
No, I'm not complimenting.
Okay.
performance of Adam Baldwin.
I
I don't know. Adam Baldwin's character just seemed like he had a lot of just generalized traits and dialogue just thrown into a pile. And it was all meant to show him as this brutal animal kind of, guy who has no feeling and stuff like that. Private Pyle seemed like this.
He's the reverse extreme.
Yeah, he was the reverse extreme, but to me, the reverse extreme seems like more of a believable character, especially with, an actor who's holding on to 40 more pounds than he ordinarily has and really, really like physically struggling. I don't know. It seems more real to me, Private Pyle's acting, than Animal Mother. And maybe that's because I might be reading into the fact that I always think Adam Baldwin is a shitty actor, and Vincent D'Onofrio has done an amazing job in a lot of things that I love. So maybe I'm also reading into, the future quality of the acting following this movie.
Perhaps. Maybe that's what... Yeah. Maybe. As you know, anyways, I
so
frequently forget.
You didn't like either of those characters necessarily, which, I mean, I agree with Animal Mother on that one.
Yeah. The Marines, they all feel like they belong in Fury, which is a movie that we just reviewed. Animal Mother especially. He could have been John Bernthal's character.
I definitely agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. Even Joker, Private Joker, could have been in there. He could have been Michael Peña's character, for all I care. Like, they all have that quality of just alien comical, or at least attempted comical cartoonism that I just find very unenjoyable or just very immersion breaking.
Really?
Or just it's just way too, in your face. Yeah, the only one who I could probably say was okay was Rafter Man, because he didn't really have a strong character. He seemed more like a regular person because he wasn't trying to played up to be a cartoon character. He was just I'm more of Joker's friend, basically. I don't really have any fucked up, dumb, clunky dialogue. I am actually reacting to probably how this scenario would allow me to react, right? So the moral is not big flashing fluorescent lights in your face. Look at this, he's doing something racist, or look at this is bad because they're shooting civilians, nah. So I don't care for that type of performance. And that's... I think when you do it this way, it lacks so much subtlety, it hurts. Where in Lawrence of Arabia, one could say that the performances were also cartoony and lack subtlety, but to me, it doesn't reach that point of it hurts. And now there are other movies of that era that I could say would, their really cartoony ways would hurt, right? But Lawrence of Arabia doesn't cross a line for me. In this movie and in Fury, those characters do cross the line, and they become really stand out, just inhuman-ish people, or they just exemplify one character trait to the point of fault. That's just fuck this.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I can actually, now that I bring up Fury, say the second half of the movie is just basically Fury, but in Vietnam. 100%, where it both glorifies and defames the horrors of war / isn't it great and / isn't it terrible and / look at the Americans who do know, look at the Americans who don't know, blah blah blah. It's this weird propagandic message, except it was more anti-war than it was before war, right? Especially with the ending
I would call
shot.
this movie extremely anti-war.
Definitely, but they still glorify the Marines to an extent, while at the same time completely defaming or bashing just kind of the reason why they're in the war. They're all children, they don't know shit, they're stupid, look at them kill mercilessly civilians, blah 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 blah, while at the same time also portraying the Vietnamese like fucking barbarians and fucking trash. The portrayal of Vietnamese in this movie also was oh my fucking god. Now I know where that phrase comes from, "me love you long time." I never knew what that was from. and I've been to Asia quite frequently, and I've like seen hookers in Asia, and I've never heard the phrase "me love you long time," but now I get where it fucking comes from, and I'm like, oh shit, this started something, right? That's a
Right.
that cartoony portrayal has fucking done some long-term damage.
Yep. At least they were played by Asian actors.
Real
and not
Vietnamese.
fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I would have been okay with Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan is a Vietnamese hooker.
Me love you long time. That would have been way more enjoyable.
Me love you long time, Luke.
Yeah. Kind of fits. Kind of fits.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, the ending where they're all marching singing Mickey Mouse was so fucking over the top. I was like, oh, get the fuck out of here. It was so... This is the moral of the story, guys. We're sending kids to war who don't know anything. And look, this is, so stupid what they're doing. And I just thought it was so retarded, dude. Like,
Anson, how intelligent do you think the average moviegoer today is?
I think it depends on your coach.
Do you think the average moviegoer today who has to be entertained... I mean, this is a blanket statement.
No, I know.
I intend this to be very insulting to them. Do you think the average moviegoer who needs a 20-foot tall blue robot that used to be a car, crashing through the atmosphere at hundreds of miles an hour, into Shia LaBeouf's car, and then Shia LaBeouf's car wakes up to be a, big monster robot. Do you think the average movie audience that goes to see a movie like that is gonna see a group of guys who just went through a hellish skirmish singing a Mickey Mouse song and say, oh, the director intends us to make the connection that because these guys are singing a Mickey Mouse song, they're all way too young to be involved in a conflict of this magnitude? Do you think they're really going to make that leap? Because to you, that might seem ham-fisted, but to me, that seems like something that, that's a perfect ending to this movie because, not everyone is going to get it.
That's a really good point, and you can't see me, but I'm nodding my head to everything you were just saying like the whole time. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Because I understand how you can think that because now that I've seen this movie, 10, 12 times, I understand how that's very obviously meant to fit in with the worldview of like Private Joker, for instance. But if I was the kind of person who only ever watched Michael Bay movies and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, cool, another like musical juxtaposition. They're at war and they're singing a happy song. I might not think, oh fuck, this is, the signifier of these guys' uncanny youth. I don't know. I'm just playing
you're right.
devil's advocate here.
No, I'm glad you bring that up, and I'm glad you asserted yourself in such a way, because I agree. And I think to your point, while I might feel it is insulting to my intelligence, you're probably maybe right that it is not to a more general audience. And perhaps that is where I find my fault as a moviegoer, because I feel like when a movie insults me or that I see something and I say something is stupid, I can appreciate in a lot of times where it's like I see what they were going for, but for me it didn't work. Yeah. In this particular case, I had lost that, and I was just thinking this is just so over the top. Like we said, the Jungian thing. Like he did expound on it a little bit as to like what he meant by that, the duality of man. But you're right in that maybe not a lot of other people would have made the connection or thought like that originally. I mean, there's so many anti-war movies, I guess, that I already came in with a bias, and seeing it done in such a upfront, like I said, the flashing lights in your face, I was like, oh no. And that to me bothered me. But
sure,
perhaps you're right. Perhaps, I think for myself though, still as me the critic for my own taste, I still don't like it. But now that you have brought that up, I will retract a little bit, but I will still have to hold it to my own standard of, for me, that still doesn't work. But
no, sure, that makes total sense. I understand that.
yeah, that wow, that gives me pause because have you seen American Sniper?
No, I've
Okay.
read one of Chris Kyle's books, but I've never seen that movie.
That was a really good movie. I feel like that was subtly done with a lot of mass market appeal. And then, like, you know, Fury did very well, but we thought it was terrible. And then I put, like I said, this movie, Full Metal Jacket, on the same pedestal as Fury. But now what you're telling me with, like, the music, especially with, like I said, the musical choice, that is a little bit more intelligent than what Fury was attempting to do, which is just completely all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
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 I
mean, I have this emotional attachment to Stanley Kubrick.
was about to say you're a Kubrick fan.
Yeah, I probably do defend things that don't really need to be defended. I have no defense for obviously some of the really over the top performances in the second half of the movie, but you know,
The black guy, 8-Ball, it's like, let me just show you my dick. And that whole fucking thing. I was like, come on.
Yeah, that was really.
And it's like, let me show you my friend, the Viet Cong dead guy they just keep in their camp around. And it's it's like, come on, man. Like, really? Like, I don't know, man. But again, so for me, all of those cartoony things didn't. Oh, one thing that I really did like though was wherever the fuck it was shot, the sets they built, or however the fuck it was done, that looked incredible. Like, I could believe that was in Vietnam. What
specifically, like the Vietnam?
In Vietnam. Those scenes were actually really nice. Like walking through the different parts of like different villages or towns, like the rubble in the street, the fucked up buildings, and like when they're exploding them with bullets and like not exploding, like just laying into him with like the hail of gunfire and like the rubble's coming up, and you actually see the bullet holes forming in the concrete. Yeah, that was very well done. That was excellently done, and I forgot about that. But yeah, I guess for me it was all in the delivery, the dialogue, and the story. All three of those things had, I don't know, really rubbed me the wrong way. And this is not a movie where I distracted myself. I was watching this very focused, right?
Sure.
And I think that, again, as you mentioned, for me it insulted my intelligence. I was like, this is just so stupid. Like, what? Come on, man! Like, you couldn't have done this in a more clever way. And I guess maybe, I don't know. Yeah, you got me reeling, man. I don't know. I feel bad.
No, I appreciate all the criticisms you're making. I just like playing devil's advocate when it's a movie I really enjoy.
I don't know. And while that may not sound like a lot, the second half is entirely dialogue and character driven. And it's painful every fucking minute because there's just more stupid shit you just kind of groan at. And it's just like, oh.
I think it's interesting that feels that way to you, because to me, a lot of this feels like the better version of what Fury was trying to do, which is like create this sense of like awkward trying to be putting on airs all the time that you're okay type of banter at war, and being bored out of your mind, but also simultaneously fearing for your life and your future based on what's going on around you. And I don't know, some of it felt forced, but I think it's also meant to feel forced at times because a lot of these characters are like, at least this is my view. If you're in a military company where you're going to be killing people and potentially one of you or multiples of you might ascend the ranks in order to then command the people who are just killing people with you, I feel like there is this sense at least in my mind, that if I was doing that, I would have to put on an air of being more masculine or having a more broad sense of humor or being more, macho than I am in my personal life. And I feel like a lot of the dialogue in this movie near the second half really kind of shows that sort of performance aspect of being a man at war. It's like a lot of these guys just sound like they're trying to sound cool or trying to sound macho or trying to be... Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of one of the reasons I like the dialogue in the end, is because it feels like natural to the circumstances that these guys are in.
From what you say, I completely understand what you're saying and how that's meant to fit. I think in the way it was delivered still was too over the top for me.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I understand that.
It just doesn't feel like that's how people talk. Maybe they do. Maybe that's I'm not talking like the jarhead jargon.
Sure.
But like, if the point was to get across kids trying to act more adult or more masculine than they should by being more, like you said, puffed up chest, a little bit more racist or a little bit more like cynical in their in just the way they have to kind of like act or feel or internalize, that didn't come across when no one had a conflict. No one showed that side of them. Like, the only one that had a moment of like, oh fuck, what do I do, was Texas, or Dallas, or whatever his fucking name was. Texas? The guy who dies. His buddy. I think it was Texas, correct?
I think so.
That's where
Lieutenant Cowboy?
Yeah, Lieutenant Cowboy. So, because he's the only one that shows the range of emotion to even portray the idea that you're pitching.
Yeah.
The other character, literally all the other Marines in Vietnam, do not have that. Even Private Joker doesn't even have a range. Private Joker, his range is shown in the beginning, when he has the conflict with Pyle. But in Vietnam, he's just kind of like, the camera follows him. He has a couple quips, but he doesn't like have any real emotional conflict until the very end when he has to kill the Vietnamese sniper. And even that was kind of like I said, that part felt very ham-fisted to me too. Now that you say what you said, it gives that ending a little bit more context for me when he kills the Vietnamese sniper. I'm like, wow, man, that was badass. It's like, would you guys really say that? You guys just like killed a bunch of other people. Like, and first of all, who let Animal Mother just run the fucking show? I don't know. I think logically there's a lot of problems with it for me. But anyway, now to the fact that you just, we're going back to the him killing the sniper. I don't know. Where I find them glorifying the Marine, which is like when Rafter Man's like, woo, I got my first kill, yippee, I saved your life, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That was kind of like a hip hip hooray for the American, right? And then... Yeah,
but I think you're describing... I don't know, I think you're
I'm all over the place right now.
You're ascribing an action to an intention that I don't think is there. I feel like they go to great pains to disconnect you from as many of the characters as possible in the first half of the movie so that you can understand in the second half of the movie that when something happens or when someone has an idea about something, that's simply that person's idea about stuff. It's not the movie's idea about stuff.
Okay, if by that logic, then I have a problem with that intention, because if you don't care about any of the characters, then why the fuck do you care about the movie? The only good part of the movie, in terms of like everything, was Arlie Ermy. And potentially Pyle and Private Joker. If that relationship could have lasted longer, maybe. Right? I mean, up to the suicide was perfect. It felt fine. That was great.
Yeah.
But when Joker is in Vietnam and his buddy's Rafter Man, you don't care about either one of them. You don't care about any one of them. Except for when, Cowboy dies, because you only care because you think Private Joker cares because they knew each other in Marine school or whatever.
In basic, yeah.
Yeah. So that could also be the issue with me, where I just didn't give a shit about the characters.
Yeah.
Fury does a better job of making you like Brad Pitt, the guy who literally is, riding around on a white fucking horse and like has an interesting dinner scene with the fucking pussy accountant tank driver or tank gunner.
Yeah.
But in this, you don't get that, except for you see Private Joker and Pyle as he's very, very, very caringly trying to help Pyle. Like, here's how you do your gun. We gotta shine your shoes. We gotta help you make your bed. And they're having like a couple like tender moments of like, dude, I'm doing my very best to help you, right? I don't know. I think maybe I need to rewatch this movie.
Yeah, seems like something didn't sit well with you, but you're having trouble describing it.
Okay, from what you tell me, you make me want to rewatch for those points. Because what
but
I
also,
got initially...
keep in mind that in a lot of these scenarios, I'm just playing devil's advocate to get... Because when I like a movie... Well, I don't necessarily think I'm wrong, but I do think that I'm definitely like I could have let a lot of your opinions lie, and they're completely valid opinions that seem reasonable to me. But a lot of times, because I like this movie, I'm just playing devil's advocate. So I mean, you could watch it again and nothing could change. So keep in mind that I'm just kind of being a dick here, like pushing back.
No, I understand that too.
I think a lot of what you're saying is extremely valid.
I guess it's that uncertainty of how much of this did I actually miss. But I don't know.
Sure.
And sorry, I know this podcast is going on really fucking long, but I'm trying to sort this in my head. Because I understand the Jungian thing of, the duality of man in the war and how they portray the kids trying to be adults who are too young to, probably too young to be fighting this war, and why war is hell. Have you ever tried to rewatch an old sitcom?
Yeah.
And then been like, oh my god, this is so fucking cartoony. This is like...
Yeah, like I just recently started Friends, and I didn't even get past the second episode because I couldn't stand it.
Yeah. Maybe this is like that for me. But that can't be entirely true, because we still see that exist in movies as new as Fury in 2014.
Sure.
Right? I don't want to call myself like one of those motherfuckers who are like, I just want to see everything dark and moody. I'm a guy who enjoys a lot of camp.
I don't think you're coming across that way.
Yeah, but I'm trying to wrestle with myself. Is that what I want in a war movie? Is a little bit more grit, as those fucking assholes who are like, oh, I like DC because it's grittier. I'm like, dude, this is shittier movies, though. Like, it's grittier. And I'm like, you're an idiot. But it's all taste. It's all taste.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to sort myself out mentally, is like, am I coming to a realization that, like, I have certain different standards for war movies? It very well could be. I think I hold war movies on a different level than I do other movies. And have you seen Saving Private Ryan yet?
Oh, I've seen it several times.
No, not Saving Private Ryan. Band of Brothers.
Oh, no, I haven't started that yet. I did recently just get HBO, though, so I'll be starting it pretty soon here.
I think that literally might have ruined my standard on war movies.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a better anti-Vietnam War movie that I liked. Oh, dude, Good Morning Vietnam. That was fucking amazing.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, with Robin Williams? Dude,
that was Robin Williams, though.
That was hella heartfelt. I'm curious actually to rewatch that, because like that was like probably my favorite anti-Vietnam movie was Good Morning Vietnam. And the ratings on that are kind of low. It's like in the 70s, I think. But I find that's just so much more of a palatable movie, so much more of a real movie and an emotional movie, as well as still getting the message across, that the Vietnam War is hell, shouldn't be there, humanizing the Vietnamese much better. This didn't do any of that, but it at the same time really wasn't trying to. But at the same time, it hits all the points of, like you said, maybe soldiers not being ready for their duty, or the fucked up military culture, existing where it shouldn't, perhaps. Yeah, I'd say I would compare this to Good Morning Vietnam, and I just have to say this is just not a better Good Morning Vietnam. It's just 2 steps down.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, can we watch that for the next podcast?
I'm down. Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Very
we're doing
down.
like old ass movies, but like because you
We'll figure
hold
something
this,
else out new to watch next time.
yeah, you hold this in such high esteem. I'll rewatch Full Metal Jacket side
Just
by
because,
side.
okay, one of the reasons I hold it in high esteem, and I guess one of the reasons I started off being defensive, is because to me the breakdown of Private Pyle's character is one of the greatest character turns in movies, because you see over the course of 45 minutes, which I can only assume covers all 6 to 8 weeks of basic training, this guy go from like happy to be there, has no fucking clue what he's in for, to beaten down, to self-doubting finally after he should have been self-doubting the whole time. And all of his friends, or not his friends, but his acquaintances start to resent him. And then he finally I just love that turn, because I feel like it's one of the more effective ways of showing how brutal military culture can be. And that, when your criticism like started with like the central piece in that, which is Private Pyle himself, I immediately was like, well, I just gotta go on the defensive, because I really like that. I couldn't tell you why though.
No, what
Just-
now that you're saying it, it's perfect sense. Well,
Yeah,
you said that.
it
You
just
said that
seems-
before, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like a great accomplishment for what it was, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's a cop out. But anyways, that's why I went on the defensive to start with. But yeah, I mean, I think you've made a lot of valid arguments, and it makes total sense. I mean, I totally understand how you feel on a lot of the points you've made.
I'd like to apologize to you and the audience for just taking so fucking long sorting my thoughts out.
No, dude, I think the more we can do stuff like that, the more interesting our discussions will be, because I feel like there's nothing entertaining about agreement. Not that we have to disagree about every single movie, but it's interesting to see how we view movies, because that that informs a lot of how a movie turns out to us.
Yeah, it teaches us about ourselves, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because everyone projects to a certain extent onto movies.
I don't know if I will try to edit my ramblings down, but I might have to shave off 20 minutes.
Oh, dude, it's all up to you. I mean, I'm excited to see how this one turns out. So
I am too.
Having said all of that, would you recommend this movie?
I'm gonna stay with my initial reaction. No, but if you want to watch only the first half, I would highly recommend it just to see Arlie Ermey's performance. That by itself, the movie of just following basic training up to Arlie Ermey and Pyle's suicide, that is great.
Yeah,
Then
I
just
agree.
turn
That's
off the
just an
fucking
amazing
movie. Turn off the movie. That's all you need. If that was literally the whole movie, very happy. They could have done more like dinner scenes or getting to know the private scenes, and that could have been a whole movie. Leave out the Vietnam part even, but that was not their intention, because this is an anti-Vietnam War movie, and so they had to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
So no.
Have you seen? Not to bring it back to old movies, but have you seen Apocalypse Now?
Oh, yo! I actually was not a fan of Apocalypse Now either.
No fucking way.
Yeah, I thought that was hella out there. Yeah.
Have you read Heart of Darkness though? The book it's based on.
Oh, I have not. No.
Okay, that would probably play very big into why you didn't like the movie.
Yeah, it was just so fucking out there. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, it's very, very heavily based on a book that is a similar story, but that takes place in Africa near the turn of the 20th century.
It felt like a drug trip the whole time, which I guess is a credit to
I think that was part of the idea, for sure.
Right. But at the same time, it doesn't really make it enjoyable for me to watch personally, feeling like I'm oddly disconnected to the movie.
Sure.
But yeah, that's
I just thought I would I figured that would be one to relate this to, for sure.
You want to watch Apocalypse Now?
Oh no. We don't have to do two
No, I was going to
solid
say
weeks of just war movies.
that'd be funny. No, it'd be funny if we did like Full Metal fucking Jacket. Well, we did Lawrence rated it to Full Metal Jacket to Good Morning Vietnam to fucking Apocalypse Now.
That's too many war movies and too few of episodes.
That could be interesting, though. That could be interesting. Because it definitely gives us context.
Let's discuss it after we're done here.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so no recommendation from you.
No, sir.
But you would talk highly about the first half.
Oh, hell yeah. Paul, what about you? Would you recommend Full Metal Jacket?
I typically don't recommend it, but it is one of my favorite movies, and I'm very open about that.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
I know we just went over it, but to sum up now, what makes this one of your favorite movies? Like, if you had to tell someone, like me, I'm like, what makes it one of your favorite movies?
The first half is one of the most unapologetically brutal and hilarious 45 minutes in any movie I've ever seen. It combines brutality and hilarity and intensity in a way that I think not a lot of movies have done that I've ever seen. When you get to the second half, it's a story about, and this is one of the things I have to kind of, I understand if anyone who's listening to this, all two of you, completely disagree with me, because I think this is a little bit of, I understand this sounds a little bit pretentious. To me, the second half of the movie is an experiment in the format of movie making, because of the fact that as of the end of the first half of the movie, I am left with but one character to even slightly care about, and the second half of the movie doesn't even barely focus on him except for slightly more than everyone else who's in it. And because of that, and because you're not attached to anyone, it's just this picture, this tableau, if you will, of a bunch of young kids and how their personalities are affected by being at war. And like I said earlier in the podcast, which I think is one of the central points of my liking the second half, because you don't really relate to or care about any of these characters, everything they say is just them. It's not the movie. Everything a character expresses is just them. It's not the movie. And I love the separation of that, because one of Stanley Kubrick's hallmarks is in none of his movies does he ever give you a lot of information. He always gives you little bits of nitpicky information, and then you can interpret that as you want to. The amount of film school papers I had to proofread on A Clockwork Orange alone, and the conflicting theories about what, the meaning of that movie is, or what the moral of that movie is, could make someone's head spin. And the fact that by the time the second half of this movie rolls around, there's no relation to any of these characters, and so they're all totally their own little thing that's separate from any view Stanley Kubrick might have on the war or whatever, is just really fascinating to me. I see it as an experiment in the format of movie making, because at the end of 45 minutes, I care a little bit about Private Joker. I care not at all for anyone else. And the rest of the movie, it's a little bit of Private Joker and slightly less of everyone else. And they're all saying their views on a constant basis.
So was that the characters making their own point? Or did Kubrick, who actually adapted the screenplay, write that for them?
I think he probably wrote that for them, but I think he does a good job of representing a diversity of attitudes. Like, one of my favorite lines is when the people are interviewing the soldiers about why they're there and stuff, all these guys are like, yeah, I wanted to get out of my hometown, or I wanted to go and, have an adventure while I'm still young, or, I wanted to go help these people who need our help. And then they go to Private Joker, and he said something to the effect of, I want to meet people of a beautiful ancient culture and murder them.
Yeah.
And it's like, he knows this war is bullshit.
Yeah.
But not everyone else does. And there's varying degrees of that level of understanding. And you see that in all these interviews. And, the interviews are very kind of without a lot of surrounding context. You don't even oftentimes hear the questions they're being asked. It's it's about these people's view of what they're doing, and kind of shows in a way that even the people who are doing things can have a warped, fucked up, completely incorrect view of what that thing is that they're doing. And it fascinates me. I don't know why. Probably because it's such a morbid story in that vein. So, I mean, there's a lot I would explain, and this is one of the downfalls of this podcast having a typical hour-long runtime, is that I like to explain and over-explain, and a lot of times I just go in circles with my explanations. But so I think I probably said a lot of what I just said earlier in the podcast, but I think that's kind of how I would explain why this movie means a lot to me and why it's important.
I like asking you this question at the end, because we've done this in past podcasts, because what it does is it kind of summarizes your point, or at least even expands on it more when you have more time to approach it directly.
Yeah.
And so I think that as the takeaway is more important to walk away from, and at least easier for me to also understand too.
Sure.
As to where you're coming from. And now, like I said, with that second watch, I'll be looking out for that.
Yeah. And the thing is that it's totally valid if you still come off with the same exact opinion at the end.
Yeah,
because,
and I'd really like for you to watch, what's it called, the Robin Williams one, and see
Good Morning Vietnam.
If you would like that one a little bit better. But we'll see.
Yeah. No, definitely we will. So with that, I think this has been one of our longest ones for sure.
Oh my God. Dude.
I have been Paul Morgan.
I have been Anson Chan, and you could basically just listen to this podcast instead of watch Full Metal Jacket, because the same runtime. An hour and 50 fucking minutes.
Damn, dude. We killed it today. All right, well, we will see y'all next time, and until then, happy movie watching.
Yes. Enjoy.
Alrighty.